One of the greatest leaders, Pope Francis. Pope Francis, George Mario Bergoglio, was elected 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. He was the first non-European pope in more than 1,200 years, and someone with an outspoken style and radically different leadership style has made him one of the most controversial popes ever. Pope Francis was ordained in 1969, served as a bishop from 1992 till 2001, and a cardinal from then until he was elected as pope in 2013. The Pope communicates and collaborates with a group of advisors, including cardinals from the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Australia, as well as Europe, plus one Vatican official. They're from all over the world, and they consult with him to help them make decisions. He wants to get other people's opinions. Authentic change does not take weeks or months, it takes years. And Pope Francis has shown this by his timing, that he understands this and he remains positive. Pope Francis has approval ratings any leader would envy, with 88% of American Catholics think he's doing a great job, and nearly 3/4 of Americans in general favor him. His motto is "Don't change, reinvent." Pope Francis is a fearless reformer. He has taken on just about every faction of the Catholic Church in order to make it a more inclusive religion. A day in the life of the Pope. Pope Francis begins and ends his day with prayer. He rises at 5 a.m. and prays until 7 before celebrating morning Mass. He prays after Mass and again before breakfast. And then at 8 a.m. the day begins. He works through papers until 10 and meets with secretaries, cardinals, and bishops, priests, and lay people until noon. And on a normal day, he has an audience in St. Peter's Square, which brings in the multitudes. On a bright day in December, the festive crowd numbers rise to 30,000. Pope Francis was nominated for the 2014 Nobel Peace Prize. In the same year, he ranked number 4 as one of the most powerful people in the world by Forbes, also making the list again in 2016, ranking number 5. Fortune magazine ranked the Pope as number 1 in their 50 greatest leaders list. Leading the way, Pope Francis speaks daily about the compassion and love of God. He not only talks about it, he does it by reaching out to refugees, the homeless, and the sick. Pope Francis is handling debate. He is allowing open discussion and debate in the church. He is not scandalized by disagreements, even over doctrine. It is impossible to exaggerate how extraordinary this is. Only during Vatican II was such a debate possible. Pope Francis to the young people. Pope Francis encourages young people to face their fears with discernment and courage. He says in the scripture that "do not be afraid" has been repeated 365 times, once for every day of the year. Becoming an adult does not mean that you have to abandon the best years of your life. We all have a unique calling, and the world is waiting. This is a quote from Pope Francis. He says, "Dear young people, do not bury your talents, the gifts that God has given you. Do not be afraid to dream of great things." A new way. Under this approach to moral theology, it's possible to see holiness and grace in the lives of imperfect people, even those in irregular marriages. Rather than seeing the world as divided between the good and the bad, we are all seen as wounded sinners for whom the church serves as a field hospital. As a leader, he is bringing awareness to the environment. He says, living in our vocation, we are protectors of God's handiwork, and it's essential to our life. It is not an option. It is a secondary aspect of the Christian experience. Some interesting facts about the Pope is he is multilingual. He has only one functioning lung. He had the other removed because of an infection as a child. He is known for his simple personality. He lived in a simple apartment and cooks his own meals. He gave up the limousine and he takes the bus to work. Pope Francis became the first pope in 2016. He created an Instagram account. He broke a record of having gained over 1 million followers within 12 hours of the account being opened. Pope Francis preaches to anyone in attendance, gardeners, garbage collectors, and cleaning crew. He doesn't want a pristine church. He wants a church that's going to go out on the streets and find people and help them. Pope Francis leads by example. He urges world peace with leaders and citizens of every nation to work to end violence for a greater respect for human dignity. Pope Francis met with dozens of children suffering from tumors, and he also said that good deeds should be performed discreetly without drawing attention to oneself.